All right, today we're going to do something we haven't done in a while. I've been distracted. I admit it. That's okay to be distracted sometimes. But today we're going to get to one of our, favorite things to do on this channel. Historically speaking, again, not in recent times. Let's do some pro game reviews. And today I have one of the internet's current favorite Go players, Ueno Asami, who is a Japanese 4-dan professional. I believe she's 21 years old right now. She was the youngest player to ever hold the women's Kisei title, just the Kisei title for women. And in this game, we're going to look at the latest Kisei tournament championship that just happened this past month. She's playing Suzuki Ayumi, which is another very strong Japanese female professional. And I think Ueno right now is ranked like the 7th best woman in the world, and she's only 21. Suzuki is a few years older than she is, and been around a lot longer. You'll notice that there's a significant dan discrepancy. Ueno Asami is only rated as a 4-dan, even though she's the 7th best in the world. Often, rating promotions, take some years to basically catch up to their players, especially when you're really young. Like Ueno is, but it's all it'll happen. Like she'll become a 9-dan professional, I'm sure, given her trajectory of her career. Anyway, this is a very strong game, and so we'll go through it with some subtleties. I'll definitely want to take some time exploring. Let's look at her Nihon Kin page. There's a picture of her, and we can go down to her results. The Google translation here is pretty sus, but you can see that her total career record as a professional is 328 games played, and of those, 212 wins. So, basically 2/3 of a win percentage, which is, again, fantastic for any Go player, but especially a young female player, which is one of the reasons why it's so exciting to watch her. This year, 2022, that is, she's played 6 games and won 5 of them, including the Kisei title. Sorry if I gave away the spoiler of this game. I guess it's a 3-game series, so I guess you don't know that she wins the game yet, because she could have lose this one and then win the other 2. Anyway, last year she won 54 out of 79, and that's pretty fantastic. And again, this includes not just play against women. This is play against people of all genders. So that's an excellent record, no matter who you're playing. You can see the recent games list. There is the Kisei. This again, Google translates really funny. Instead of Kisei Women's Championship, this is translated as female style game. So that's dubious. Here's a picture of her after she won her first title at the age of 16. And let's show you what makes her so strong a Go player. This game is actually I think if it, we'll talk about style as we go along. But if we talk about like pro level mistakes, what's interesting is that Asami makes larger mistakes, but she makes far fewer minor mistakes. And so this game sort of has this little trajectory where just over time, Asami's moves are just tiny bit more efficient, a tiny bit stronger than her opponents, and she tends to just pull away very slowly but surely, and then she'll kind of blunder a little bit. And we're talking about like these are top level pro blunders. So they're like I'm talking about like a 2-point move as a blunder, right? Like I wish I had a rating graph that looked for my games that looked like the one behind my head. This looks violent, but this is the 10-point line. Like this is like a 2-point lead, right through here. This is like 1 to 2 point lead, and then it swings to like a 1 to 2 point non-lead. My fat head's in the way. We get a little bit swinging back and forth with a couple mistakes, but oh man, this is just such a tight graph. Wouldn't you love to be able to play Go and just have that AI evaluate your game? It's just, there's just a couple 2-point mistakes. Just for fun, on the AI Sensei chart, again, where's my fat head? There we go. You can see this slider is set to the 3-dan level. And what's interesting is that the level of 3-dan, if you evaluate this for all 3-dan moves, no moves were played below the level of 3-dan except one by Asami. Everything else was significantly higher. What's fun about, I have to get a better system than just ducking. As you move the slider up, you can see, what constitutes like a 9-dan level mistake. And these are usually like just fractions of a point. And you can see by the time you get to 9-dan, fat head, Suzuki makes more mistakes than Ueno, but again, you can see these sudden drops, right, that go towards black direction, and it just sort of grinds out towards white. So we'll definitely look at those larger mistakes, the Ueno mistakes. Again, these mistakes are so small compared to us amateurs. So let's go through this. Again, I'll put this back down for now, just so I'm not annoyed by the lines. And take a look. All right, in this game, you can see up here, Ueno is white, and her opponent approaches high, which is fine. Again, the AIs have a slight, fraction of a point preference for low. But again, this was the standard, 4-4, 4-4, and then approach high on the 3-4 stone was one of the most commonly played openings for many years. Attachment is the best move, and we go into a sort of a small avalanche decline variation that gives white a nice corner and black a bunch of influence. This wedge is nice to create cutting points here, and black ends in gote. So far, all this makes sense. White got, a sizable corner. Black got some nice influence. There is a defect here, and we're going to see the timing of this defect is actually really hard to pull off. And in fact, Ueno does not pull it off correctly. And it's a very slight distinction. We'll talk about it. But again, her opponent sort of goes along with Ueno's plan, and she's able to capitalize. Okay, so here we go. Very natural move, right? Black has a lot of thickness. We have an open skirt over here, so white can not really count this as black territory. We don't have to worry about this so much. So a very natural move here is to just approach and force black to build this and then, undercut it later, like supernatural move. Not supernaturals and ghosts, like just very natural move. The AI here prefers the 3-3 invasion directly. And that's, robot is what robot is robot's gonna do. And fine. Like, it says this is 0.3 points worse than a 3-3 invasion. So again, on some level, it's a pro-level mistake to lose a third of a point. But I think that's perfectly acceptable. Both players play excellent. And this would be the most normal continuation here for black just to connect. But again, this makes white very happy. White will then come and eat this corner and then undercut over here, probably even come out here first, or threaten to take some more power and influence so white can reduce this. And if black insists on taking this as territory, then white has the second line undercut. So black is done and says, no, we must resist. I want something more. But of course that leaves a defect, and we sort of get the first threatened fight by leaving these defects. And in this case, I'm going to turn up the slider a little bit. We see that it's actually a little bit of a point loss. And I'm pointing this out because I feel like this move is going to set the game on a real interesting trajectory. Here's the promise. When black plays this move, it results in black giving up these 3 stones. If black were to play this move, that doesn't happen. And I know that's a pretty bold contention to make, that how you connect these defects results in the death of these 3 stones. But just, follow along, hear me out, and see how that happens. Because, this is like the subtleties that make Go really exciting. And, you or I, as an amateur player, have a real hard time seeing that, right? How this move leads to the death of these 3 stones. And there's other choices along the way that white and black can make that will avert from that fate. But if black just plays here, I'm just going to contend that doesn't happen. So let's do that. Let's follow along and see how this gets played out. After this, white presses. Again, white needs more strength here. Black is starting to take something large on a large scale in the center, so white's just going to lean on black and push in. Black is going to feel compelled to defend, which is why black blocks here. And you can see a problem. And for those of you who have reached single-digit Q status, and maybe even some double-digit Qs, you can see that black has made a tiger's mouth, and that's not a great shape. That actually leaves a lot of aji. And that aji is, a little bit, it's a liability. It's a liability. Black is going, in the end, what you're going to look for is black is going to need a little bit of extra, basically solid moves to make sure this Aji doesn't become anything. And white's just going to poke at it. And again, this is why Ueno is able to get these advantages, is basically she's just going to keep grinding down on the Aji that's available for little tiny fractions of a point increases over time. And this is something she's very, very strong at. So, again, black is still trying to build something here in the center. White still has a weak group. So the natural flow of play is to strengthen your weak group while leaning into where your opponent wants to build points. Very natural sequence here. And again, continues the same logic applies to all that whole entire sequence. And then black finally says, no, I need some real points here. If black defends here, this would be a lot safer, but oh man, does white feel so much more comfortable. Like, this is a big difference in terms of the health of this white group. And black is just saying, I'm not going to get these, 4 or 5 points in here just by extending. Black really only gets these points by trying something a little bit more violent. All right, so here we get sort of the first kind of real mistake of the game. It's not the first mistake for Asami, that is, and it's to cut right away. And again, you'll see how this plays out. This is not a bad mistake at all, because again, Ueno is looking at this Aji, this tiger's mouth, these 2 stones, this cut, and just thinking, I want to squeeze the fruit for a little more juice. Black responds here, which isn't the best response. I think the best response is to actually just connect. No, 0.4 loss. I'm not sure what the best it's got to be this. Be able to make another tiger's mouth. Yeah, that one the AI likes. Just to get rid of all this Aji. This makes this corner just super solid, and now black basically has no clouds in the sky to attack the white group. Of course, white has the initiative, so, it's really hard to play this type of move as black. Like, you're just giving white another free move after a crosscut. So I totally understand black wants to continue the pressure and play something a little bit more violent, right? Black really wants to make this cut dangerous for white. And by playing here, we're asking white a lot of hard questions. Like, we're really trying to swallow this thing, trying to find every little bit of advantage against it. But, you can see the second black plays here. Oh man, that just leaves all this Aji. And so Aji is found. The 2 players go back and forth and capitalize on the Aji. Now at this point, here, let me stop here. There isn't any sequence in this corner that works for white. Like, black can always hang on to all the stones. This is just Aji. There's nothing violent or evil or bad that's happening. This is however, it's still precarious. White is really trying to slap right here and get a free extension. There's a little bit of a shortage of liberties problem on this side. And to some degree, there's also a little bit of a shortage of liberties on this side as well. It's probably a little bit more direct on the left, as we're going to see. All right, but this is the moment that I think, yes, this is the first like 3 Dawn level, or not 3 Dawn, I don't know what Dawn level mistake, 1 professional mistake that Asami makes. So a slightly bigger mistake here is to take the timing of this cut. Now, this is a great cut. This is a cut you often want to play in this shape. Even if you just make this exchange in Tanuki, it's fine to do that almost at any point. But at this point in the game, this is why it's a mistake, is that on some godlike level, black should not fight and connect. Black should actually continue pressuring this group. These 2 stones actually aren't that important. Yes, it links up these 3 stones, so they help the health of these 3 stones, but these 2 stones and this group are really more interested over here. Furthermore, the corner's alive. White doesn't need to capture these two corners. These 2 stones are really nice for black to hang on to, but oh man, this isn't the biggest group. Like, it's only really involving the health of one thing for black. And this is why, at this point, black should play a move like this. And this really helps take control of the center. It helps quash the Aji here, and it totally puts a lot of pressure on this white group, because now black is going to peep here and basically threaten to give it no eyes, and it's just going to have to sort of run out into the center while black builds the whole right-hand side. That's the game plan. But Suzuki connects. And so Ueno's move becomes very good, and now she can run out like this. And basically, we still have there's a little bit of Aji over here for white to use. And we have this black stick that's cut off. Interesting. Suzuki says, no, I don't want to deal with this. I just want it to go away. Please stop annoying me. And Asami says, okay, sure. We'll not annoy you for the next couple moves. Let me explore this Aji a little bit more. And again, this Aji happens because of this tiger's mouth connection that was made, I don't know, 25 moves ago. Right? This little tiger's mouth shape here leaves a move like this. And if you're not quite sure, let's show you. Let's say black Tanukis. Oh yes, the unhappy faces come up. We have the throw in, the Atari, black's dead. Okay, so this is if you don't sense the danger there, that's the read you have to be aware of. So black has to be very careful. And, black's a strong player, can say, okay, I just want to make good shape and forget the Aji. However, white gets another move of Aji. And this, again, threatens a snapback. Black has to connect, and it's white's move again. So white basically got these 2 stones for free after white invested 1. And you might still say, well, those 3 stones are going to die. And I'll say, maybe, first of all. But more importantly, it's just really annoying for black to deal with. Because black is still undercut here. White has a chance to link up to these 3 stones and make sure black has not only no points, but these 3 stones might get cut off, especially if white has time to run out the 2 stones here. So you can see how this little fight, white has achieved little bits of momentum, basically because of this weird connection. And black trying to hold on to this as some sort of potential territory. White just keeps poking it. And again, this is not a huge lead. This is like a point lead for white on this board after this, well, specifically after this next move. But again, this game is decided by just a couple of points. Like, it's really not, like this is not a game where we're going to see giant swings of violence. This is a very tight, very sharp game between 2 players. And so this game is won and lost on individual point mistakes. White plays here, and this move has 2 meanings that are very direct, maybe even 3 actually. The first of which is to just threaten this stone, and there's just a direct ladder that we can just kill it. So black's very worried about that. Second, it threatens to connect up to the Aji stones and save them. And third, it threatens to help run out the 2 stones and basically cut black in 2. And even though the computer doesn't think this is the best move, let's see what the computer does think. The computer wants to run out directly instead of playing here first. If we do that, then what happens? It says black should net, and then white plays here. So it's really the computer wants to get a little bit more Aji over here. Just get the extra liberty, right? Because before, if we just play at this point, this move, white only has 2 liberties, and so black can just kind of quash it if that's the choice black wants. But by making one more exchange, even though, black can still manage the 3 stones, the 3 stones have 1 more liberty. They're just that much harder to catch. And so I think that's the basic concept if we were to simplify. But again, this 50 move, it's still the key shape point, and Ueno's just playing it immediately. It's just not getting this extra little tiny advantage, and the computer says, that's too much of a point loss to not get that. And again, we're talking about razor thin mistakes here. If you play this move in a game, you should feel like Superman. Okay, this is such a cool point to threaten this stone, threaten to link up, and threaten to run out these 2. Amazing. All right, black extends because if this stone gets caught in a ladder, oh man, does white control the center? Does this group have no problems whatsoever? And black's territory for this game is basically limited to this corner. maybe black gets to capture these 2 stones and a couple points in this corner, but the game's over. So now when white runs out, instead of trying this net, black chooses a different path. This is basically just a forced sequence where black has a choice. Like, are you going to basically, kill off the Aji over here with these 3 stones and get your territory back? Or are you going to quash this? Well, actually, at this point, you really can't even quash the insurrection. Your moment has passed. So this is all just forced as far as everything's concerned. Black had a little bit more of a choice, perhaps, here at this point, if white extends and gets an extra liberty, but it's not a very good choice. All right, so anyway, at this point, this is all just forced. When white runs this out, white is saying, okay, you can kill all this. And again, the reason why white's happy to kill off all this hard-earned Aji is because it's still undercut. And so white can leap in here and still just destroy even more points. This isn't worth that much. So this is all forced. And white plays here, and you can see that, oh my gosh, these stones are in super mega trouble. Like actually really hard to do anything with at this point. 59 is an interesting way to basically give them up, but still maintain a lot of Aji and command a presence on the left-hand side. If you just give them up flatly, white actually gets really strong on the left. So a move like this totally makes sense as a strong move. The computer says it's a mistake, but you know, it's more this that the computer still thinks attacking this is the most important thing on this board right now. And we've seen that before. The robot is very cautious about this right-hand side first, as usually the biggest priority for a lot of these little mistakes. So black gets him out, white blocks. Again, these are dead. And going back to my original contention, if you remember, this tiger's mouth, right, really did lead to the death of these 3 stones and those 2 stones, like both of them. Just because when white bullheaded her head into here and sort of forced black to play move after move after move, man, black felt very compelled to just kill it all off. And in doing so, white got to take these 2 stones, run them out, and take the outside. Both of these territories are large. Like both for the start of a game, we already have how many points? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. We have like a 30-point-ish group over here. And then over here, we have I was going to say a clean, 15 points in the corner. It's not entirely true because the white still has Aji. So a little bit less than that, but black has potential easily for another 15 to maybe 20 or even 25 if we get another stone here. But again, this is a Gote move that does nothing other than just take, 5 to 10 points. So timing this is hard. So, I mean, in territory, it's pretty even. At least from the looks of it, but we have to remember white still has Comey. Obviously the left hand and right hand sort of balance each other out, just 1, 4, 4 stone. And it's basically white has the stick group versus black this 1 stone. It's quite balanced. Computer says white is up by 2.5 after that Comey, but it's, for any amateur game, this is beyond balanced. Right? You can say just even game. All right, from here, black takes the initiative to continue attacking the right-hand side. And in general, this is a good idea. The robot really would like you to also play the left at this point. And so this is like the first time the robot prioritized something other than the right-hand side, and sort of like an open free move situation. White connects, and in this case, I think the better move is to extend on the right. Let's see. Oh no, now it wants an extension down the left. Okay. Just schizophrenic AI robot type things. Play move over here, play move over here, play move over here. Yeah, I think that's how the AI is calculating it. Certainly for us humans, we tend to follow a narrative thread more directly. All right, so we're coming up on you can see what is Asami's next biggest mistake in this game. You can see that graph drop off right there. And it's going to be how she handles this. It's the move, well, here, you guys can just sort of see it for yourself. But first, she's going to play this, which isn't necessarily the best defense. And actually, the AI really wants to use the Aji first, or just ask a question for the Aji. That's really useful because you may want this Atari is actually potentially a good shape to make eyes. Depending on how you go about attacking these 2 stones. So asking right now is actually just nice timing. Like black is attacking you, instead of responding to the attack directly, that usually means, okay, let's activate some Aji and make sure black really wants to invest in attacking me. That's just a very natural thing. But what's funny here is that the AI likes both of the other jump moves better than the one Ueno Asami played. So either way, she played this one. Black played a shape point. Again, this is a very nice shape point when you see this sort of like 2 stones, the 1 space jump. Let's just play a move. Like there's a wedge here, there's a peep here. Like this really exposes all the defects in a pretty violent way. So it makes very hard on white to not have this point. And again, so you can just sort of see the fault with playing here in this type of shape. It really should be here or here. But okay, very small mistake. This is the larger one. This is the biggest mistake in the game to this point. It's a 3.1 loss according to the AI. And I mean, look, white's is trying to make eyes in the most efficient and get strength in the most efficient way possible. Totally makes sense to come through here, cut, and this leads to a covariation. But the problem is that you don't really need to play this covariation. White should just play here. And this is still not great shape, but it's a lot better shape. If black plays here, white can play here and get an eye. And, you know, it's still, this is very thin. White can lean on this to find a second eye somewhere. So this group feels a lot stronger. Now, granted, black has a few more stones here on the outside. So it's not, and Sente, so it's not like black didn't get anything. But it's just a much simpler way for white. The game move goes like this. And ko. And so, oh my gosh, white is kind of trying to, I mean, these three stones are never going to get captured, right? They're always, well, actually, maybe, I don't know, this Aji will get played and make that a little bit scarier. Maybe there's some variation where that works. But anyway, regardless, white is fighting this ko to, you know, threaten to capture 3 or capture 1. Basically be very proactive with this group. And if there's anything that a lot of the AI robot reviews taught me, it's that I have to not be as scared of letting my groups go to ko. Yes, it's a lot more taxing to think about, but it's taxing for both you and your opponent. And any group that can live in ko, that means it's only worth half. Like playing a move to save it means it's only worth half as many points as you think it is. So if it's a 20-point group, and this is actually probably a little more than 20 points. Let's see, 1, 2, 3, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. Yeah, for sure. This is more like a 30-point group. You know, if you play to make it live versus play for a ko, and I guess the ko is kind of like Gote, so maybe not quite in this case. This isn't the right case to really articulate this principle. But if there's let me put it this way, if there's a group that you can Tanuki away from and still live in ko, and it's a 30-point group, but you can play there to live, that means the living move is only worth 15 points. And so that's still a lot of points, but it's not 30 points. And that's the more interesting part. All right, white is going to make this ko. They're going to fight this ko for a pretty brief period of time. White's going to get this move, and then black fills the ko. And now there is basically white is just doing cleanup and making shape to get out. After all these moves work because this stone is still there threatening to capture these two. So white gets all this free stuff, and white gets out. This exchange, I don't really understand why it's a mistake, because I guess it's a waste of a ko threat. It's the only thing I can think of in the game, because there's really no other reason for black not to take this right now, other than a ko threat. And so what's interesting is if that logic is completely true, the AI assigned it a 1.2 loss just for just taking a pure ko threat. I guess that's what a ko threat is worth right now. And then after this, we have a pretty good potential for black on the right hand side. Look, black's even taking 5th line territory. This wall is stronger than you think because black can connect up here or, you know, capture the 2 and get out. And white still has a weak group. So, you know, black is feeling jolly. Like, let's take 5th line territory. And the AI agrees. Like, it's like, yeah, that's fine. You can do that. This wall is not nearly as weak as it normally would be if it was right next to a giant white group. Just because it has this connection, it has 2 stones, and the white group's not alive. All right, this is a good move. AI does not like this response. This is a better move, where basically you're just going to say to white, look, you can run out or you can live. You have 2 choices. I'm going to keep the corner, and you know, again, the stick is safer than it looks because the stick can lean on your group or connect. And so it just puts all that burden back on white. But Sibicky does not do that. And anyway, after these two moves that were kind of mediocre, you can actually see it's basically an even game again. And so in this case, Ueno Asami wasn't getting her advantage back because she was grinding out on Aji so much as just, you know, it's just, you know, sometimes your opponents play a little bit less efficiently. But she asks some nice questions here. Black basically kills off the two stones. But again, this isn't as big as it looks because we already know this black stick is hard to attack anyway. It has two escape routes. So when black says, no, I'm going to cut off the two stones, it's like now the other escape routes aren't valuable anymore. You've reduced one of your own resources. And so that's why you can see, even just on a fractional point level, white, you know, creeps into the lead again through here because white is able to take time to get the corner. AI does not like this sequence over here. Again, white, Ueno Asami is just poking at her opponent, just saying, hey, can I have, what can I have? Just looking for some free stuff, some Aji, before coming back here. Now, this is, according to the AI, a 3-point mistake, and she's going to make a couple here in sequence. Again, you just sort of see how this game goes. It's like she kind of just falls asleep in this middle section and plays just a little bit inferior for, you know, the middle 50 moves, and then plays super tight and strong the rest of the game. What would the AI do here? AI says, yeah, come back to the left. And so, is there a way for black to kill this? I'm thinking it's Ko. But I didn't actually explore this earlier in my own review, so... No more move? What about if I play here? Doesn't matter. Just dead? Like, is there no more moves here? I guess not. This is not alive? Or Ko at least? Connect? Play here? Play here? Sorry, forgive the fantasy variation reading. Is this dead, right? Dead? It's still just dead. Oh, but black's... This is bigger? Because we're attacking this? Is that the reason? Really? Oh my gosh, this is crazy. That's the right move? Look at this! Fantasy variation coming through. White is peeping at here and here. And so instead of connecting this way, which seems like the way to just fix both of those, and it doesn't really because it still leaves a cut here and a poke here, the AI says the best way to fix here is to play that. That's awesome, right? What an empty triangle. Didn't think we'd see a golden empty triangle today, but here we are. What a cool move, right? Because now this is, there's still a poke here though. Is this not good? Oh, I guess white, yeah, white, I don't know, I think white should take this first. I'm not sure why. Is this just one of those co-threat things? Like, this seems so intuitive to me. Like, white wants to come back here and live, but you should take the Aji first to say, do I really need to live? And so that's strange that the AI prefers that one. Anyway, all right, sorry, that was a distraction. So what was the conclusion here? This is technically dead, sort of. Like, white has some resources here to annoy black, but that's still a locally dead shape. So, not even Ko. So is it really just true that everything else on the left-hand side is bigger, and that's why this is a mistake? I don't know. I mean, certainly this is the move I would play in my game, right? This 3-point loss move. Because that's not a small corner. Like, I mean, it's not a medium or large size corner. It's a small medium corner. Because I guess black has this, but if white gets the next move, you know, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, it's almost 10 points. So anyway, so we have that. Black gets another move on the left, and again, remember, there is a little bit of Aji here left for black. These are not, even though these are dead, black gets some free stuff around here, and black has a group to attack. So even though white lived in black's corner, and white has a nice kill up here, game's not over. Game's not over. In this exact moment, it's very even. White counters attack, which is a nice move. And then we're going to see sort of the biggest mistake of the whole game. And it happens after a crosscut. And here, let me turn off the other move suggestions. So black is going to make this crosscut. And it's dubious. Like, black should not make a crosscut. In this case, black should just pull back here and really make sure black has an opportunity to use this Aji. This sort of throws the left-hand side into chaos. The crosscut is actually much simpler of a variation. But this by just pulling back away and getting strength rather than fighting directly, the situation is not going to become clear for longer. And in this case, however, black crosscuts, which is, like we said, dubious, but then white makes the biggest mistake in the game. This is almost a 4-point loss by taking this Atari. And so this is a great moment for you to, maybe pause the video or just think long and hard here about what would you play if you were white. Because Asami does have to actually, sort of fight through this and play pretty perfectly to get her advantage back after this mistake. And here if you figure that out, that's great. I'm going to give you the next clue because I'm going to show you what happens in the game. White has to pull back here and then crawl underneath. Black gets to ladder the stone, white breaks the ladder, black gets essentially another free move. And to really prevent the Aji here, because again, there's still some Aji here, white cuts off with this beautiful empty triangle. This is totally not the golden empty triangle example of this connection down here. This is an empty triangle you're very sad to make. So the end result of this is it becomes black sente, that's first. Second, white cleanly captures this. The Aji is pretty much gone. But black basically gets a couple stones on the outside. And specifically, when we compare this to the game variation, I want you to think about this stone in an inside of a tiger's mouth and this extra stone here. Black gets 2 extra moves in this variation that won't be immediately obvious for you if you play correctly. Because the game is going to look very similar to this, except better for white, obviously. So instead of playing this Atari, white should play this one. And you might say, but this gives black an opportunity to come underneath. And you might say, yes, but this now gives white control of the center. And black, sure, black can live and get a few more points here and use this Aji. White will have to take another move to basically capture this. But now with a Panuki here, there is an immediate friend for the biggest target in the game. Black has all the outside influence here, and so white is just matching it. White's not going to be able to be pushed around anymore. And so this territory over here is actually probably going to end up being smaller than the corner territory over here. And again, this is all to white's advantage. Says actually white's up by 3 points here. So that's one possibility. If we extend, now instead of taking this Atari, we're just going to connect. This stone is a problem. Like, this is really a nuisance. And so black, you have to choose what to do. AI says make this exchange first, but then white gets to take this Atari, and white can either push here or push here. They're about the same. There's plus or minus 0. If we do this one, you can see that it's still cut. This is an interesting cut. Huh. Okay, just an Aji exchange. You can see that the end result of this, notice it's still black sente. So compare it to the game move we just analyzed. This corner is so much cleaner after all this. This is still dead. There's no black descending move here. We actually got a second push for white, so white gets a little bit more territory. And this stone is just as, if not more free than the other version. Black didn't get another stone to help tame it. This stone looks dubious, doesn't it? Like, you would not play a stone here. If you had this stick of 3, you'd just never play another stone here. So black's position is a lot more precarious, and white's position is just a lot more solid. And it all just comes down to which direction do you Atari first. Again, this is like the subtlety of really high-level professional Go playing. And granted, she screwed it up a little bit. It's still a big difference in the end. Like I know for a game that's going to be won by just a couple points, this really could have been said to be the difference of which direction do you Atari from this crosscut. And usually like when you follow your proverbs, your heuristics in a crosscut situation, the first thing you should look for is, can you capture anything? And the answer is not really. So if you can't capture anything, the second answer is, or the second stage to go through is to help your weaker stone. And usually that doesn't mean Atari. But in this case, you have to Atari and then connect. And now we've helped our weaker stone. So, that's just sort of how the proverb goes that she didn't follow. The other variation that can happen here is if you take this Atari first, and then you don't play here, you take this Atari, well, now black's going to play here. And yes, you get the similar Panuki that we said was good before, but you gave up an extra stone. Black is so much stronger here. Like, you have to defend this immediately. And black still has more pokes and things. Like, black's basically alive in Sente. Whereas before, there's still enough of a defect after this Panuki that black has to be a little bit worried. And so this exchange was actually very worthless. Like, I wish there was a move editor. You have to imagine taking this stone off the board and this stone off the board. Right? This stone was exchanged for this one. Like, you would never, at this point in the game, you would never play that stone. Right? Can you imagine these two off? Like, you'd always Atari from the outside and, try to cut it off there. So this is just pure profit for black. You get a little bit stronger on the outside and an extra point on the inside. I guess maybe not an extra point on the inside, because if there's no eye on the top half of this group, black eventually has to come back and capture it. But at least for a little while, it helps black maintain strength. Okay, let's go back to game. Again, that's the very subtle distinction. So here's the actual game situation. Do you just feel how much weaker white is? Like, after all this? Like, these are not points. White doesn't get an extension. It's still black Sente. And this outside is just a lot healthier and stronger. So what happens here? Well, black uses the strength to invade the corner. White says, you got it. Black continues making the corner. White plays the shape point, and in this case, black plays here. This is not the best move. This is very slow. This should feel even cringy to the best, Go players, or the worst Go players, not the best Go players. Look how this just feels over-concentrated for black. Like, black worked so hard to get extra stones here and here, but to have to come back and fix this shape, now, let's see, what should black play? I think black should play something that still helps. Actually, black should probably just attack. Let's see, analyzing. Yes, AI move. White should poke here. And what's the are we going to cut? We're not going to cut. I wants to use this Aji. Fine, okay. I mean, white will basically get a bunch of strength here. But in compensation, look at now, black actually has potential for the bottom to become something. So yes, if you don't fix here, you will lose a couple points as black, and you'll get pushed around. These two stones might be in jeopardy, but you already got compensation for them, right? White's shape was not nearly as strong. And so if you can get two moves on the outside and give up these two, you should be pretty happy as black, because now we have another territory we can potentially farm for points. So this move feels very slow to me. And again, it's a good move because it helps all the Aji, it helps all the things, but it's not like I'm drawing attention to it because it's such an easy. It's a concept that we see all the time in Q games, where you overfix something. You at some point, like you have enough strength that if you get a defect that gets taken advantage of, it's just really a few points lost. It doesn't affect the global strategy, the global play of the game, and that's why this is a mistake. You can see as soon as black fixes, white takes another stone, and again, just preventing black from reaching out, getting strength while still sort of attacking this group from a distance. Again, all these center moves, both players really want the center because there's still a white dragon out here. So, when white plays another move to settle this group, now this group isn't going to get attacked. So white can just respond to any attack directly. Black's going to attack the dragon, boom, just help the dragon. Very easy. In this case, it doesn't like how it fixes there. How would the AI fix this? Oh, by taking more Aji. Okay. Playing more Aji and then fixing this way. Interesting. So we get to the same shape point, but we're just defining the shape a little bit more directly. And then, who knows, play a move to help it, either by attacking the stone or making shape, one of the two. Okay, cool. Hey, where'd that go? Where's my, did I close this? Oh gosh. I broke all the things. Oh, is it just showing it because... All right, I went to a review thing. Review pattern. Okay. So again, this is a very human move, right? Asami finds the shape point and just plays there directly rather than milking all the little bits of shape that the AI is famous for. All right, after this, black can't seem to find or doesn't have an immediate good way to continue, so black is just going to seal this off and claim this as points. Huge move, but it's just points. White also takes basically the last farmable land on this board. Just 2 space, 2 space, 2 space extension closer and closer to the black influence. So this is very patient, very nice. It feels slow. Like this is the type of move that after this one feels good, right? Because you're preventing yourself from being attacked. Playing here again, it's a little bit cheeky. I don't feel good playing multiple third line extensions. But in this case, it's fine, right? Just because we are pushing further and further into black's influence. You can see white's making up little bits of ground with each of these moves. Black tries to lean on it. White counterattacks. And here we get you can just sort of see this creeping back, this whole fighting sequence. Black is trying to either, build something here or get more strength to come back and find a way to attack the dragon. But you can see that black really doesn't get a whole lot. Basically, white's just getting extra points for not a lot of benefit to black. Like black gets a little bit stronger of a connection here, gets this reducing move here, but again, we're giving up stones and points and even strength. This is bad timing. Again, black is trying to find a little bit more in the center to attack the dragon. Can she find it? Well, not really, because Asami's just going to play here. What are the other options? How would AI defend this? AI says here, this attachment, this, or this attachment. All good moves to defend the dragon. Not a huge difference, but it's still almost a point. So, again, as long as each of these moves defend the dragon, there's just going to be slight differences in points. Here, yep, Asami makes shape. We're looking like we're going to make some eyes here. And black just gives up and connects, and this is just too well defended now. What should the dragon... Oh, yeah, look at this. AI is like, we need to make these stones worth something, right? We need to make them more threatening somehow. And so let's threaten to cut the group down here, make another crosscut. Hey, Asami screwed up the crosscut before. Maybe she'll do it again. That's good strategy. And again, you can see how hard it is to attack this dragon. Like, once you get close to it, it just leans back on you, and there's just enough liberties and enough stones that, because there's no other weakness to take advantage of, like, if you poke it, it's just going to poke you right back. It's a sort of tit for tat. So this is looking for trouble, right? Black is really trying to find some Aji, find some extra strength here to come back and figure out how to best capitalize on that weakness. This is the last chance that black really has to do that, and doesn't, just comes back and connects. So Asami plays this move, which basically all but guarantees life of the dragon. And the rest is pretty simple endgame. From here on, there's not really any change. White gets to make this turn here. This is very big. Just makes the dragon and the bottom group so much harder to annoy. I mean, everybody plays well. Like, every move is solid. But after this turn, we're just sort of fighting. Oh, there is a little bit of a chance. Interesting move here. Yeah, where black connects here, and the AI actually has this interesting note: gains points but loses percent. Right. In other words, this is a good move, but you can't play good moves when you're behind. Like, even the AI is recognizing that. Like, you need to ask for a little bit more, and throw the game into more of an unknown state. And I think that's how the AI is telling us that, in its own words. So anyway, from here, let's see. I think if we go all the way to the end, what's the final score? Oh, it actually turns into a 5-point win for white. So black is actually up on the board. But, oh no, it's a resign? It's a resign. Yeah, the game's resigned. And white is up by about 5. So, this type of game, championship title game, 2 very strong pros, both very well versed and learned from their AI. playing just really sharp moves, there's not a lot of mistakes to talk about. Like, did you guys feel like these mistakes that we're looking at are so subtle and often beyond where you or I are at? That's just sort of when you can see it, when you can get a glimpse of that, that's the beauty of the game. Is you can just see a little bit deeper than the day you could before. Read a little bit further, have a little bit more intuition for a certain shape or position. Because, right, this is maybe Suzuki's, I don't know, maybe third biggest mistake this game. It's still a 1.8 point mistake. So small. So anyway, for many of you, that's probably your introduction to Ueno Asami. Again, she's a popular pro. I know Dwyron did a video on one of her games, I think 2 years ago. And there's other YouTube and Twitch people who've reviewed her games. So if you want a new pro to study, go check her out. Like, she's a fun one to champion. And again, we've been talking a lot, or not me as in we as in this channel per se recently, but the Go world, especially in the aftermath of the AI, has spent a lot of time talking about Korea and China players, and not so much Japanese, Yamayuta being the one exception. And so it's kind of fun to see some really interesting, strong prospects from Japan come up late. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed this game review. I know that this game was tough. This game was sharp and tedious, and especially when you're reviewing with the AI, that's one of the hard, like when you're reviewing a very strong game with an AI, like it's hard to feel like you can learn anything from these 1-point mistakes. But at the very least, I hope I gave you some general concepts and heuristics to apply directly to your own games, even if they're applying to a mistake of a much larger, more obvious size. So anyway, thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.